Okay, alcohol use disorder is a mental health disease. This is not a debatable issue. But this conversation that we're about to have is not about that. It's not about who's right or who's wrong, because it makes about as much sense as this round globe that we travel around on and having a debate with a flat earther. Faced with insurmountable evidence to the contrary, alcohol use disorder is a mental health disease. Now, let's break this down a little bit. I'm going to read this particular comment, and I appreciate the comment, actually. I get this kind of all the time, and my hat goes off to this lady because her father passed away from alcohol use disorder, and our condolences to that, certainly. But it's really more about you and the mentality behind this, because I understand it, because I lived it myself, and it took me a long time to really wrap my head around this. So I'm going to read this. I've said it before in other threads. There is some measure of choice and free will. My dad died of alcoholism, and I'm not on board with calling it a disease, no matter who or what is doing the classifying. And I understand that, and I do respect that to some degree. But it's really all about evolving yourself as a person and really understanding it. People only see from their vantage point. They only can see from their experience. And this is where we have to move on beyond that. And let's continue the conversation. The first time that I heard alcohol use disorder was a mental health disease, it actually made me angry, because I looked at it and said, well, that releases the culpability and the accountability to the alcoholic, and now they have no accountability because they can blame it on a disease, and their hands are free because it's not their fault. No, that's not how it works at all. And the first time I heard about it was at a family weekend at a rehab facility with my wife. It was really early on, and I actually laughed at it. I went, oh, this is just stupid. And the other people in the room were a little bit farther along than I was, and I kind of looked like an idiot. And be honest with you, and I was able to really delve into it, and I did a lot of research on it, and I realized I really didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Because there are actually genes, for example, ADLHB1 and ADH2, which give someone a genetic disposition. So someone can actually be born and have a predisposition to being an alcoholic, not choice. When you grow up in a family culture where everyone around you drinks, your parents, your friends, your siblings, your grandparents, cousins, uh, family events, all involved drinking, there's a high probability that you are also as well. If you're around five drinkers, you're going to become the sixth one. We become products of our environment. Again, not a conscious choice. Other things are stress related, like trauma in childhood, abuse, neglect, emotional repression of emotions. Uh, all kinds of stresses. It could be situational, uh, depression, anxiety. These are all attributes to alcohol use disorder, and this is how it permeates. Again, these have nothing to do with choice. These are results. Drinking is a result of these particular emotions and experiences and cultural events in one's life. And one of the main reasons why it's so important to understand this as a mental health disease is because that's how you are going to approach this. Okay, it has to be approached as a mental health disease. It wasn't that long ago that, society was giving people lobotomies for being an alcoholic, or just simply throwing them in jail and throwing away the key because they were doing incredible, insane reactions, or they put them in a mental health facility with no really understanding of what was going on with that person without actually treating the underlying reasons. People don't wake up in the morning one day and say, you know what, I want to grow up and I want to be an alcoholic. That's not how it works. I think today I'm going to drink myself into oblivion. I'm going to ruin all my relationships. I'm probably going to lose my job. I'm going to destroy my health. And this is my goal as a person and as a human being. That no one ever in the history of the world has had that as a goal, unless they were suicidal, and that's another issue entirely. So you have to put this in perspective. Understanding that as a family member is essential. You have to do a number of things, and I want to talk about this next. You have to realize, as a family member, doubling down on it's not a disease, it was their choice, it was their choice, and they were just a bad person, they were just a mean, ornery, horrible human being. Well, that's not going to help you have an understanding of how it affected you. Okay, and you have to understand it, that it's a mental health disease, and maybe even realize that how it affected you directly. Forgiveness is a big part of it. Moving on, I always suggest Al-Anon for an education and understanding, how it affected you and your role in that person's life. It's essential in understanding it. But forgiving, not forgetting, but forgiving. Forgiveness is a very important part of this as family members, rather than being controlled by those emotions. You do not want to take up too much rent in your head, being controlled and being angry and frustrated about the past and resentful. Resentment is not a part that's going to help you. And I guarantee you, and this is hard to understand, but loved ones, they did not want to be alcoholic, and they did not want to affect you. They just have no understanding of the effect that they're having on their family members. They really don't. And then it looks like narcissism, but it's just mental illness. I mean, quite frankly, it's insanity, for lack of a better word. That's the best way to say it. You're dealing with someone who's completely unhinged and insane. And I think one good exercise to really bring this all home is to close your eyes and just remember the person as the person was without alcohol in their life. What were they like before the alcohol, if you knew them before the alcohol? And imagine them if they had never had alcohol in their life. And that's the person that you want to remember. And I really hope that helps. And again, I have a complete coaching program. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. Link is in the bio. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour. I do a deep dive into what's going on with you and your family. I'm really interested in finding people who want to change their lives and the lives of their family. The call is free. The coaching program definitely is not, but I'm looking for people who are committed. And again, thanks so much for listening.